Okay. But I will call this meeting of the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors to order. We had a little technical glitch there, so we are a little late opening meeting. We apologize for that. But it is the year 2020, so you know. But we want to welcome our staff that is able to join us tonight, and also want to welcome everybody that is with us virtually, and we're glad to have you. So at this time, if you would please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, board, you have in your information tonight the minutes from the November 13th meeting. If you have no corrections to those minutes, the chair would entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
Chairman, a motion that we approve the November 13th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Okay, you heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You have your agenda there before you. I do not have any additions or deletions to that agenda. Anyone have any additions or deletions they would like to make at this time?
I believe on the agenda that was sent out originally, John Taylor was on that one. He has been deleted off. An update on COVID. That's not the one in front of you. That was the one that was sent out, Mr.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we need a motion then to adopt the agenda as presented.
We need to add this other resolution to
It's already on here.
Mr. Chair, I so move that we adopt the agenda with the deletion as reported.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's see. I told you it was on there, Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right, we're good. All right, the first order of business tonight is a public hearing for a special exception permit for US Retire Incorporated. Mr. Henry?
You have an application by Bluebird Enterprise LLC, US Retire Incorporated, for a special exception permit to allow for a tire recycling center. This property is identified as county tax number 09000-06-0038, 004A, and 003B. Zone industrial M1 is located on the south side of Golden Eagle Drive, approximately 0.4 miles northwest of the intersection of Highway 58, Lacrosse District, Election District 3, County of Mecklenburg, reference deed book LR-15-1940.
Okay, thank you. According to the notes I have here, there were 2 emails that were received that opposed the application. Also, the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the application. So I guess, Mr. Carter, I can't open up public discussion on this matter. So how do we handle that?
We did not receive any comments since the Planning Commission's, and you have received the ones that were made with regards to the adjoining property owners from the Planning Commission.
Okay. All right. So hearing that and the fact that we really can't have a public hearing as such, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I will speak on this for just a second. I did speak with one of the people that sent something in, and their concern was more emissions from this type of plant. But I spoke to Mr. Carter and Mr. Hendrick, and the process they use to do this is more of a mechanical type of shredding of the tire.
Right.
So therefore, that's not really an issue. And then the other thing was basically the storage of the tires. that all the tires would be stored inside the facility. There would be no outside storage. So other than that, but I will make the motion to approve the special exemption for Blue Bird Enterprises LLC with the condition that all tire storage will be inside of a building or closed.
Okay. Now this says that, the recommendation from, the planning commission was any tire stored outside of the building shall be screened from public view. Is that?
Well, and the reason I'm doing this is because even if a tire is screened from public view, it can still collect water and be an issue with mosquitoes and all of that type of stuff. I think they should be in some type of closed container or building. And from the conversations I believe Robert Hendrick has had with the applicant, that is the intention, but I just wanted to make sure.
That's acceptable. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've heard the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Our next is, an ordinance amendment on revenue sharing for, solar energy products. Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir. As we discussed with you all on several occasions, Mr. Slayton and I, there's two tax ways that we can do this. Currently, you are taxed this at 80% on the 20% on the real estate, 80% exempt. It's called machinery and tools tax, but it is done at the real estate rate. Correct? That really affects our ability to pay. It depreciates down very quickly. It goes in at 20%, and then the day it becomes operational, it's only 90% value. So you're down to 18% of actual value of the facility. Over the next 24 years, that 90% goes down to 10%, which means now you're evaluating that facility at 2%. It brings back at the year 24 almost no real estate value to you at all in taxes. There is still the land value, and this doesn't affect the land value any way. What it does set is $1,400 a megawatt. That will give you a lot more money in the fact that we have a very high ability to pay, which is the composite index, which affects the amount of money that the superintendent gets from schools. And the more we increase that, the more it affects him. Our ability to pay is right now 0.38, I think. 39. We're right behind Chesterfield. They're a little bit ahead of us. We're one of the most, I'd say we are the most affluent rural locality probably in the state. It's basically made of three things: sales tax, real estate value, and the average income of the citizens in your community. Because of that, we think the $1,400 rate, Russell and I have talked about this extensively. This would give you all a much higher, we actually, on a conference call, Ed and Sandra and I, we were looking at a locality being Albemarle that had a 84-cent rate. The amount of, so we could just half that of what that value would give us. But this way we will get a long-term amount. Even though it doesn't increase, the other was decreasing, this just stays the same. It will give us more cash, not in the very first 5 years, but after that it will be long-term more cash. And it also will not affect our composite index at all, which means the schools will not suffer from that value whatsoever. So that is staff's recommendation as we go to that. This is fine as long as we don't get a facility of over 150 megawatts. Would like to add that. Based upon you all's comments previously, I don't think you would look at that because that would be something with 1,000 acres of set of panels alone. Your comprehensive plan limits you to 500 acres. So we don't feel that you could ever get to that unless y'all really went outside your comfort level of your complex.
And if you did, you could rescind this ordinance.
But you can only do one or the other. So we think long-term, based upon also what we've seen, the Planning Commission and the board working and on with solar, we feel that this will be the best option for the county in the long term.
Okay. And this is going forward.
No, actually, this will retro. Yes, this is going forward. I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, anybody got any questions, Mr. Carter? All right, if not, we need a
It
motion.
didn't become available till July 1, so we couldn't have done it on the ordinance.
All right, we need a motion then to amend this ordinance for revenue share for solar energy projects.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. As to the matter of the courthouse statue, I think everybody has received, we've received 2 letters from 2 very good organizations concerning the fact that they would be interested in accepting the statue. And that's from the Sons of Confederates and from the town of Boydton. However, neither organization has come up with a site to display the statue. So if it please the board, I would like for us to table this matter until we can get more specific information from these organizations as to where they wish to place the statue. Is the board comfortable with that?
Well, I thought it was the understanding that they had, after we approved it last meeting to remove it, that we had 30 days for an organization to come forward.
Which they have, they had until
December 3rd.
December 3rd, yeah.
Right.
So those
we
2,
don't, you're saying we don't have to act on that?
well, no, they have not come up with a location.
Well,
So I would personally would prefer to see some specifics as to a location and a time frame before we, offer to approve either one of the organizations. If that,
Mr. Barber, to answer Mr. Cummings' question, you do not have to act on it. The 30 days was the period of time afforded to these organizations to come forward. But the code says it's now within the control of the board to decide what and when to do. I know you've committed to removing it, but if you want to delay it a month, you can.
okay.
well, I was wondering if, since the Boyden is a government entity, that it wouldn't have first preference on something like this. And
I think so, but I think what Mr. Barber is saying, they need a place to put it.
Yeah, they don't, their letter specifically says they don't have a location yet. So, I mean, I just think, we'd be better served by knowing exactly, that they're ready, that they have a location and they're ready to move.
Well, we got 2 organizations that asked for it. So do you give them a time frame to come forward to say where they want to put it at before we make this decision? I mean, is that,
I would
30 days from there, is that 2 years from now?
I would think by the next board meeting,
Right.
we should have an answer to that question myself.
Mr. Chairman, I've talked to both organizations and, I think they are willing to work together on this. Say if, for instance, we gave it to the Sons of the Confederacy, the town of Fordham would work with them to help find a place for it. So, we may not have to choose between the 2.
That'd be great.
But right now, I think I got a full understanding from both, and I talked to them both again today, that they are willing to work together on doing something together.
So maybe by the next board meeting, if they could bring us a plan of action where they're going to do that, you think?
And then one of the questions comes up too is neither organization's got a pocket full of money. We agreed to move it. The other thing comes up, I think, is about the foundation or where it will be put. Now, I think I heard today that Brunswick had one that was much bigger than the one we're talking about here. That foundation was around $11,000. I would certainly think, whether we need to decide tonight or something, that's one of the things they probably need to know. Or, is the county, we're paying for it to be removed, or would we pay for the foundation part of it too? Because I don't think neither one of them has got the extra money to put a foundation. Now, I don't know whether we say, we'll go to this, it can't exceed this amount. I'm thinking it'd be far less than I would say far less, but it'd be less than $11,000.
There's included moving the base too.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, they had a separate bid from a contractor there to remove the statue and the base, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then they had the foundation that they had to prepare to in order to do it. That was a question I have. Do you all want me to go and try to get bids in the coming month to remove the statue and have it relocated, and what that cost per mile is to relocate it, and what the cost would be for a base 4 or anything of that nature? So I can have an itemized, because I haven't been instructed by you all to go out and obtain any of those things as of yet.
I think they need to know if they going, what in cost they gonna endure to make the decision too, on
Right.
where they gonna put it.
Right. So Mr. Gard, I think we need to get that information and, you know, have it, you know, this much for the statue and then this much for the base. So we can, is that,
Yes, sir. I'll contact, someone, if I can get those figures for you all to have back to the next one, and how much it's gonna be. Most of them have charged also X amount per mile that it's being moved. So it's not like, you can take this thing, they're gonna wanna transfer it to, you know, 25 miles away. So the closer you get it, the less it is.
right?
Because there is the issue of strapping it down and making sure it doesn't get damaged in transportation.
Right.
So I think my understanding, want to make sure that, we are talking about 30 days, the next board meeting to come and tell us where they want to put it. But then it still will probably take a little time after that to prepare the place and everything for it.
I think we can
We'll
work,
with them on
we
that.
can work with that. I think it's really good news that the two organizations are working together on this. I think that's great.
Right.
That's great. Because I would have a real problem with it leaving the county.
Right.
So that's great. All right. So actually, so would somebody, somebody make a motion that we, you know, table the awarding of the statue, and that we proceed to get bids on moving the statue and the base.
I make a motion that we table this for another 30 days and we get bids on the location.
And it would be nice, Mr. Carter, if they can make that decision before the board meeting, and give it to us in the form of a written document that you could get out to the board, so we'd all know what's going on before the board meeting if possible.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to change the 30 days to where it says the next meeting, the next board
Next regular
meeting?
scheduled board meeting, yes, sir.
Yeah,
But it may not fall in 30 days.
yeah, we'll,
Next board meeting.
yeah, next
Yeah.
board meeting.
No more.
Yeah.
But with
And
the
if we can get,
holidays,
if we
is
can
that
get an
gonna be
answer sooner, that'd be great.
With the holiday season and everything in Mill, is that gonna be sufficient?
I think it'll be okay.
They'll get it.
Okay.
I'll do my best, Mr. Jones. How about that?
Well, you know, lot
Yeah.
All right, so you've heard the motion. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The board, is, tonight, I'm gonna read a resolution honoring a great member of our community that we have lost. And the board has seen fit by all means to recognize the loss of Mr. Pete Rudd Jr. With the resolution. Obviously due to COVID, was get his family represented here tonight. But I'm going to read the resolution, and we have an appropriate plaque and all here that will be presented to the family. So says, whereas the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors does hereby wish to honor Mr. Pettis Pete Hart Rudd Jr. for his years of service to Mecklenburg County and its citizens. And whereas Mr. Rudd helped develop many subdivisions along the shoreline of Lake Gaston through Tanglewood Realty in both Virginia and North Carolina, which helped expand the tax base of all of the localities that bordered on the lake, which brought tourists and vacationing families to our area to enjoy many of the amenities of our region. And whereas Mr. Rudd was elected to serve on the Board of Supervisors in 1988 and continued said service to the citizens of the Lake Cross District for 12 years and served as chairman of the Personnel Committee for many of those years, as well as serving on numerous other committees, including Budget and Finance and the Landfill Committees. And whereas he was a founding member of the Roanoke River Services Authority and served as its chairman for many years to help provide reliable water service to our community, and also served as the vice chairman of the Mecklenburg Brunswick Regional Airport Commission for the past 12 years, served on the Mecklenburg County Board of Equalization, several terms on the Social Service Board, including serving as its chairman. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors does hereby wish to honor Mr. Pettis Pete Hart Rudd Jr. for his many years of service to the citizens of Mecklenburg County, for his humor, enjoyment of life, and his ability to always look out for his fellow man. It's signed by H. Wayne Carter III, Clerk of the Board. Anyone have any comments they wish to make?
Mr. Chairman, Pete's passing was a great loss to our county, and I think this is an excellent way to honor him. He did do a lot to help this county grow and move forward.
I agree, absolutely. So,
Yes, I did miss him. Served with him on the Board of Supervisors as well as the Social Service.
yeah, good man, good man. Anyone else wish to? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Nichols, school update. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First of all, each month I brought you information from Skanska about where we are with the project. Data I'm not going to be showing you tonight, but I can tell you that we are still on track, on budget, and on time for completion. Instead of the pictures that I typically show, you will remember that we are right at a year. Last December the 20th, we were meeting together for the groundbreaking ceremony. And so we are almost at a year of this whole project. So instead, I have taken the time for both you as well as the school board to put together a video of slides from month to month to month to show the progress that we have. This will also be put on the school system's YouTube page so that others in the community will be able to watch it and rejoice with us in it because we have made a lot of progress. So I'm going to it's about an 8-minute video. I think you'll recognize a lot of things as we go through it, and we will enjoy it, and I'll answer any questions you have beyond that. There is music that plays, but I didn't have any to plug it in. We'll try to do better the next year.
You see the spec. You see.
So that takes us up to the year. We will continue to each month add pictures. In fact, I was up there on Sunday, taking more drone footage, photos and videos for us as we continue to move forward. We've made a lot of progress. We've had a lot of rain recently. I don't think that's delayed us too much though. So we are making progress on the instructional part. You know that our COVID numbers have gone up pretty significantly. We have been in the deep red, as has almost all the rest of the state and the nation in the last few days. So we have shifted to all virtual temporarily through the holidays, and we'll be looking for the safety of the kids, what happens beyond that after the Christmas break. We have full anticipation. All of our SOL tests will be done face-to-face in the schools as is required by the state, and starting the second week of January. And then second semester starts on February the 1st, and we have a plan and are expecting to have students at both elementary level and secondary level coming back with their parents' permission face-to-face. We still have a number of parents who are choosing virtual beyond that, but that is our goal, and we think that we will do everything we can to work that fine balance between safety and what's needed for the schools and for the students. So that's where we are. I hope that was meaningful to you. It is going to be on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to find it, and if you want to show it to others, please do so. Any questions?
Yes. Maybe you can clear up some confusion for me. The CDC and Dr. Anthony Fauci are all saying that our kids need to be in school. Well, can you reconcile the difference between what we're doing and what they recommend?
Well, you know, we paid attention to the Association of Pediatric Doctors early on when we brought our students back to school at the elementary level at the beginning of the year. At that time, that was the exception rather than the rule. I believe we were one of 12 school divisions in the state that had selected to bring students back, and we were at that point even hoping on an alternative schedule to be able to bring our secondary students in. But there were also regulations that said we could have no more than 21 students on a 63 passenger bus. And so we did a lot of scheduling with that to see how we could work that out, giving elementary the top priority because those students need so much extra work, support. And so we were not in a position to start with both. So we've done virtual. We've determined that there is a safety factor for the health concerns that we have at the elementary level. At midway, at the end of the first 9 weeks, we were working very hard to get an option for our middle school students at least to also bring them in. The difference in elementary and secondary students is you can contain each elementary class in one particular space among one particular group together. Whereas when you get to middle and high school, unless you are in a position of being able to switch some middle school teachers, and in high school you can't do that at all. So we were not able to keep them appropriately separated with class schedule changes. So we have continued to work with the goal of going back to an alternating schedule. That means half of the students come 1 week to keep the numbers low, and half the next week with continuous instruction going on. In that second week, they don't repeat what they did the first week. They continue to work through the distance education. That is still the guidelines given to us by the Department of Education as far as the numbers for safety is concerned. Now, when the other companies are saying bring students back, they are taking into consideration that you are spacing them. They still take into consideration that you are using appropriate social distancing applications. So we still are not in a position, even with face masks, to get below, to have students mixing up significantly or in a position that they are without masks or that they are too close together. So as we come to this point specifically, we are most of the way through our first semester. There's significant change for second semester that we're taking into consideration as we move them in. But until we get to that point, with what's left to be done, it's an issue, particularly watching the numbers of COVID cases going up all over the place, to balance that safety feature with the guidelines that we have with bringing them back. But we are planning to have them all given the option to bring them back. Now, they still give the parents the option of saying, we want our children to be virtual learning. And as we've done the work to do surveys, and we've had 3 surveys now of parents, we're still seeing the different schools between 30 and 40% of the parents saying they want their children to be learning virtually even into second semester. So that's an option that they have, and I anticipate it's an option that's going to be around even at the end of this year. That concerns me, because a lot of the students that have parents choosing the virtual option for them are not continuing their educational opportunities as well as they should be. That's pretty detailed explanation. I don't know if you got what you want out of it or not, but
No, I mean, I'm just curious why,
it's that balance that we've been trying to find all year between safety and providing the appropriate education. And the most appropriate is face-to-face for most students. We have a handful, I wouldn't even say as much as 10%, that are actually finding the virtual learning to really suit them very well, and they're doing very well. More of them are doing well as we move along, but we want to get them back into this classroom as early as possible. And we have plans that are, I will say, in advance of what most of the school divisions in the state have been doing to this point.
Okay.
Others?
All right.
Question, throughout the state, each county makes its own decision concerning virtual learning or back in school. And what repercussions if you go against the guidelines of the state?
Well, each county, Virginia is a commonwealth. Our Constitution says that K-12 education is a local responsibility, not the state responsibility. We see issues of that with finance and everything else. So when the governor took it upon himself in March 13th to shut down schools, he went beyond his power as the governor of the state. But he did it, and everybody complied. And so as we moved into the summer, several of us came back to our legislators and said, we don't feel it was appropriate for him to do that. And so he's come back now and is giving, even with the last declaration that you'd have no more than 10 persons gathering at one place, he said local schools still have the option of making those choices. So right now, the main issue is, again, they are still giving parents the right to choose whether they want their children to be educated virtually or whether they want to be able to come back face to face. And we're working with them to make those options available. One of the concerns, of course, is we live in a very litigious society. And if we have COVID spread and something happens, we could be sued. I don't know what, it hadn't been tested. I don't know what would happen. There could be a lawsuit, and we don't want anybody to be responsible for a death that would have been caused. We know that another thing that's so difficult about COVID is you have people who catch it, they're test positive, but they're asymptomatic, and you wonder why they're asymptomatic, whereas somebody else gets it and they die. And so it's just one of those things that until we now have this immunization and how it'll come through, we don't have any other control than social distancing for safety features.
Paul, do you have any idea of when the school teachers would be able to get the vaccine? Are they in a classification by themselves?
Well, of course, emergency workers are getting first consideration. I've been told from the state superintendent that there are numbers of vials of the vaccination being brought into Virginia. Probably, I'm sure have already arrived. I saw on the news tonight out of Carolina, theirs have arrived. They're beginning their shots, I think today. I'm sure Virginia's doing the same thing. That's going to go to health officials first. And they have a list. It's my understanding that teachers are maybe fourth or fifth down the list, but there's a lot of other professionals that will be getting it first. We would hope that by April or May, it might have made its way, but who knows how many will actually be available in Virginia.
Okay.
It's a hope. We don't have any. And then
I was just trying to figure, I'd heard like everyone had the workers in the hospitals, the priority, and then
hospitals, nursing homes.
Then anybody over 65, basically. I was just trying to figure out where the pecking order was on that.
Teachers would be high on the pecking order than superintendents, I can tell you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, property committee report, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property committee met on Monday, December the 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors meeting room. Members present: Jim Jennings, Chairman; Andy Hallgrove, Claudia Lundy, Lancy Spain, Sterling Wilkinson. Also present: Glenn Barber, Charles Jones, Tom Tanner, David Brankley, Wayne Carter, Judy Sheffield, Tina Morgan, Jimmy Walters, and Erica Tanner. Chairman called the meeting to order. Tina Morgan, Tourism Coordinator, and other representatives of the Roanoke River Rails to Trails were present to discuss a request for the county to obtain needed easements from the trail head at Boynton to Clarksville. There are several sections of the trail which are in private ownership in the area. The committee discussed if there was any opposition to the use of the easement areas for the proposed trail. Upon a motion of Ms. Lundy, the committee unanimously recommends approval of being co-applicant for a grant for easements from South Hill to Clarksville and to build a trailhead on Skipworth Road at Park Road. Mr. Carter presented a real estate option to purchase the property adjoining the Good building from Jamie Cook. An option has been obtained and the purchase price is $100,000. Upon a motion of Mr. Hargrove, the committee unanimously recommends approval of the county purchasing the property from Mr. Jamie Cook. Mr. Carter next presented a real estate option to purchase 1/2 an acre from Audrey Bennett for $5,000 on the south side of Highway 58, just west of Route 4. The property is needed for an intermediate pump station for the Roanoke River Service Authority and will be deeded to them. Upon a motion of Mr. Hargrove, the committee unanimously recommends the approval of the county purchasing the property from Mr. Bennett. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned. We need to take those motions, Wayne. Yes, okay. The first one, the grant application, I'll make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you've heard the motion to approve the grant application. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, the property beside the Good Bank built for $100,000. Move to approve that.
Okay, you've heard that motion. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And the last one, Mr. Chairman, the 1/2 acre for $5,000 at Highway 58 and Route 4.
Okay. All right. You heard that motion. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. Budget and finance, Mr. Spain.
Mr. Chairman, the board member, I assume that each person had the copy of the Budget and Finance Committee report. The Budget and Finance Committee met on Monday, December 14, 2020 at 6:45 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors meeting room. Someone present: Lancy Spain, Chair; David Brankley, Jim Jennings, Sterling Wilkinson, Charles Jones. Also present: Glenn Barber, Anna Hargrove, Tom Tanner, Claudia London, Wayne Carter, County Administrator, Sheffield, Ed Taylor, Susan, Sandra Langford. Now, Chairman calls the meeting to order. The committee reviews several supplemental appropriations. They are as follows. The Circuit Court received an additional $27,441 from the Technology Trust that need to be appropriated for the microfilming. On the motion of Mr. Jones, the committee unanimously recommend the supplemental appropriation of $27,441 to the clerk of the court budget. And Mr. Chairman, I want to put that in the form of a motion for the 27,000 clerk of the court.
Okay, you've heard that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The school board has received $686,595 for the CARE Act funding, which need to be supplemented to the federal program category for their budget. On the motion of Mr. Brinkley, the committee unanimously recommend approval of this request. Chairman, I put this in the form of a motion of the $686,000.
All right, you've heard that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The library have received an additional $15,090 in the state aid that would be like to be used their material line item. On the motion, Mr. Wilkerson, and the committee unanimously recommend approval of this request. The chairman would like to put that in the form of a motion for an additional $15,000.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. And last, Mr. Chairman, the sheriff office have received 2 checks for damage to automobile total $5,143.63. The fund should be placed back in the automobile repair line item. Upon the motion, Mr. Jones, the committee unanimously recommend the supplemental appropriation. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put that in the form of motion of the $5,143 for
Okay.
repair.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There'll be no further business. The meeting was adjourned. Thank all those who participated.
Thank you. Economic Development, Mr. Jones.
The Economic Development Committee met on Monday, December the 14th, 2020, at 6:30 in the Board of Supervisors meeting, Borden, Virginia. Members present: Charles Jones, Chairman; Clancy Spain, Jim Jennings, Tom Tanner. Others present: Wayne Carter, County Administrator, and Glenn Barber. The chairman called the meeting to order. Mr. Carter presented a proposal from Civic Plus for an upgrade to the county website. The upgrade will allow each department to be responsible for any changes to their pages and parts of the county site. The cost of the proposal is $19,000. The current site is outdated and requires one person to be responsible for all updates to the site. Mr. Tanner asked if this could be paid through the CARES funds, which it can be. Upon a motion by Mr. Tanner, the committee unanimously recommends the proposal from Civic Plus for a cost of $19,000 to be paid for out of CARES funding. I'd like to put that in a form of motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Carter presented bids for the Ridge Road Waterline project. These bids were received with the low bid being from HG Reynolds Company Incorporated at a cost of $405,893. Upon a motion by Mr. Jennings, the committee unanimously recommends approval to award the contract to HG Reynolds. I'd like to put that in form of motion too, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You've heard that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have Robin Jones with us tonight with our auditing firm. Is going to give us a little update on our audit. Welcome, Robin.
Thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to do the audit. being here tonight. Thanks to the staff, everybody who helped, very efficient, Treasurer Johnson, Administrator's Office, everybody that helped with all, I appreciate it. Gave us information we needed to get it done. Auditor of Public Accounts in Richmond requires the audit done by December 15th through November 30th. They changed it. At least gave us 2 more weeks. So this tomorrow, but it's already been filed with all the so that's the deadline of December 15th, and then also the APA required us to present to the board by December 31st the results of the audit. That's why I made that deadline as well. So, going on to the audit, we issued 4 reports to the county. We issued the independent auditor's report. We issued a report on internal control. We issued a report on compliance for major federal programs. We issued a report on compliance with the Commonwealth of Virginia laws and regulations. So we issued 4 different reports, and all of the 4 reports we found no findings, and the county is in good standing, and everything's okay. And all 4 of those reports. Some of the highlights of the numbers in the report. We have Exhibit 3, which is a balance sheet on page 11. It shows that the county has $74.9 million. A very strong cash position for the government. Also on page 13 is your statement of revenues and expenditures, and it showed an increase in your fund balance of $7 million. It's another good sign, strong increase in that position. And moving on to the middle of the report, pages 33. That's where your we call your capital assets are. It shows in particular this year shows $13.8 million. Plus $14 million was added. Most of that is the construction of the new high school. That is included in the county's part of the audit because school related. The school cannot issue debt on its own, so county standards require that we move any debt-related assets such as schools to the county's out of the audit. That's why the school was actually showing up in the county's capital assets. Likewise, so with the debt, which is also on page 36. And it shows that Series 2020 bonds were taken out this year for the school construction of $35 million. And again, that is school related to the construction of the school. This is some of the bigger numbers that happened this year. Your school board reports start on page 116. It shows your what you call your component unit school board. It's a school operating fund, food services, textbook fund. It's on page 116, 17, 18, and 19. And your budget schedules start on page 120. So you can school budget. Your general fund budget actual schedules are on page 82. And you want to see how you have your original budget, your final appropriated budget, your actual expenses. If you want to look to see how the county performed in the line items for the budget, you can look on those pages. And there's nothing significantly unusual there. Your IDA is also considered a component unit of the county. It's a relationship, and that is on page 123 and 124. That's your activity for the IDA. Then you move on to your federal awards, page 132. It recaps all the federal money that the county received. And this year, the county received $6.8 million. Now, I will note that on page 133, you've got your coronavirus relief funds, your CARES money. We're only showing $92,000. Government, county, generally accepted county instead of governmental units. If that money is received and not yet spent, we put it, consider it what they call unearned grant money. That is actually, at this point, it's not considered true revenue until it's spent. So I know look on your balance sheet, exactly. 11, the unearned grant at this point is $2.5 million. So all your coronavirus CARES money is not really reported as revenue this year or expenditures. You got it so late in the fiscal year, it really hadn't even been spent yet. I just wanted to note that. And then the last page of the audit is schedule of findings and question costs is required to get federal awards over $750,000. It basically recaps the whole audit. It says that the town had no findings or material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies in any of the programs, and that y'all consider a low-risk audit, which is all good things on page 135.
So basically, our folks are doing what they're supposed to.
Count for the money.
Doing a good job.
That's good.
I wouldn't have thought otherwise. Anybody got any questions, Robin, concerning the audit? All right, Robin, we appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for everybody's cooperation, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Happier 2021.
No kidding, yeah.
Yeah, 2021.
Okay, Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir. Okay. We have several different things. First, you have the building inspector's report. Okay, here. Okay. And building permits are up again for this past month. Again, you look, new houses up almost 50%. That's our biggest tell. Zoning permits are also up. As you can see by Roberts, almost at least almost double from last month. We were able to adopt out approximately 75% of our animals or return them to their owners. You've got the sheriff's report with regards to summonses. And almost over 400 all told between traffic and selective. Got any questions on that? Their report is a little different this time than what y'all seen in the past, because they kind of listed all of them instead of bringing them out by category. That's actually how it comes out, but they usually do it differently than that. So we'll work on that. Got any questions on the sheriff's report?
So we won't be getting all that detail in the future.
Unless you want it.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't know about the rest.
Yeah, I figured
I
I'd do that.
I don't think we need to know what you do every hour of the day, Sheriff.
No.
They're trying to show you that they really are needed, okay?
Right.
147 pages later. We do have VDOT's work for the month, if you have any questions on that. They're still not going to any meetings, so we're just getting that. You have our CARES Act meeting from back in November. We have not had any since then. We're working on finishing up spending. There are some grant programs still being out there. Some of you all are on with regards to some nonprofits, et cetera. And we're working to spend out the rest of the money. Judy brought up something that we're going to do. We're going to look at what monies we've got to expend now for the regional jail. Because when the release they released so many inmates. Many of ours were not, so our percentage went up from 42 to 51. That was directly COVID related. So we're going to be able to reimburse ourselves back those monies based upon the fact that we're going to have to do that true up. And what we did last year. We do have a request by the Planning District, Erica Tana. It is for a community impact grant for housing. They're trying to fully fund one for the region to look at market assessment and try to come up with future housing projects. Housing is greatly needed in our community throughout. That is a common complaint we hear from contractors, both we have the school, we have Microsoft, etc. That is a common complaint that there are not rental units or houses available throughout. So we really have a shortage on that. So we're hoping to move forward on that. They're wanting a letter of support on that matter. So that is not due to this week in the week. So we are sitting this in front of you all to see if there's anything on that. If y'all would approve that letter of support.
Okay, need a motion to approve that grant report?
Yes, sir.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
You heard the motion in discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Go
you.
back and catch the Hayes application update. Robert, was anything happen on that, sir? I was going down through my computer, not my agenda.
I received a letter last month between the two property owners. The adjoining property owner where the violation is on has sent the occupant, the property owner a letter to sell what they need to get into compliance. That was the last thing I've heard. So they're still negotiating on the violation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Next, we have a post-election update. Our registrar, Jason Corn.
Jason's over his shell shock.
Yes, sir. Back in the land of the dead, as it were. So, hey, it is what it is. I figured I'd sent y'all a report. Jenny sent it on my behalf. We typed up some of the office just so y'all could get a little bit better visual representation of what we actually did and not just me standing up here saying that we work. Our numbers were up in the county this year as far as registered voters, turnout, everything. It was nationwide. We had about 72% voter turnout. We did over half of those through our office. And again, without the support of y'all, County, Wayne, and people coming in our office, it would have been very different articles written in the paper about Mecklenburg. We were able to handle everybody through the office. Longest wait was about 8 minutes is what I timed it out as at our busiest time. Our busiest days, I think we did 500 people through our office in one day. So we were able to rock and roll and get people in and out in a relatively quick, effective manner. The most interesting stats that you'll see are actually on voter registration transactions. Us being a small two-person office, it's only me or Miss Terry that touches a voter registration form or an absentee ballot application. And in 3 months, we processed 3,200 pieces of paper. On top of getting ready for the election and the people coming in and out of our office, which is why it was such a big help, and moving a precinct 2 weeks before an election, and the myriad of other things that we had to get ready for. So that's just something that I wanted to show y'all, that we were rocking and rolling and we're able to do it and without everything, without support. Believe it or not, without Sanders, we kind of been driving her nuts with this COVID stuff because we got a couple grants. We did list those that we got to pay for some things, and we're in the process now of looking at new electronic poll books. Our poll books that we have currently are getting ready to be decertified by the state in June. So we've already begun the process and are the hopes of using our remaining COVID fund or CARES Act money to pay for that. So it won't be as big a burden on the county. Election day itself was relatively uneventful, which is great. We had 129 officers of elections, very few complaints called in that day, mostly people who didn't know they weren't registered to vote. We had 2 voting machines that went down during the day. It was all power related, plugged into a socket that didn't work, battery died. We went out and got the machine back up and running within a half hour. So those were the 2 major issues that we had that ended up being non-issues. No votes were lost. People had to wait, like I said, while we got the vote machine back up and running, but they could have just stuck it in a ballot bin and been on about their business, as many decided. We do have Dominion voting machines in our county. We did not have any updates. Our machines have not been updated since 2016. So all the updates and rumors and things that you hear of other states have not affected us. We do not do any updates to any equipment, period, on a presidential election year. And whenever a voting machine is updated in the Commonwealth, it has to be approved by the EAC, which is the Federal Election Commission, and by the State Board of Elections. So any update that would ever come through has already been tested twice, along with the acceptance testing that we have to do in the county. So I just want to let everybody know that we have the machines, and I still have the complete and utmost faith that they did exactly what they were supposed to on election day. The last thing I have is, what can we expect? Oddly enough, I'll probably be back again next month asking you to move a polling place permanently. But we want to get in touch with everybody and make sure that everybody's on board and everything is okay before we even make that presentation. Again, what's coming down, we're trying to start getting ready. The state's been talking about same-day registration, which will be a headache in and of itself, but the new poll book system we're looking at is capable of handling that. And that goes up to the state unfunded mandates. The big thing for us this year, and I know Wayne is really excited about it, is redistricting coming up. He gets to do it, then we get to do the process of updating everybody in the county and making everybody mad for the November election. So we will make sure that when any of that gets done, there will be ads running the paper. We'll send every affected voter a letter with a beautiful bright pink piece of paper inside to kind of grab their attention, like we do with any of our mailings that are that important. So again, I appreciate everybody's help in making this a successful election. And does anybody have any questions for me?
Any question? I got one question.
Yes, sir.
And this is, if a person has lived in multiple states, is it not possible for them to vote each time in those states?
Absolutely, it's possible.
Yeah. What can be done about that, Jason? I mean, I know that has happened. That's the reason I said I know college students that have done that.
Virginia, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think since 2016 has been a part of what they call the ERIC program, and an interstate cross-check program. And what they do is I think last time I checked, it was 23 states that actually share voter registration data. And once a year, they send us a report to see if anybody has been registered in 2 states. And then it's up to us to see if they voted in our state, report it back to the State Board of Elections. And that way they're able to forward it to the appropriate authorities.
Yeah, that's, everybody doesn't realize, but a federal election is actually run by the states, and it's compiled all by the states. I don't know what can be done in the future on that. It sounds like something's trying to be done. But.
Yes, it's been going on, like I said, I know since about 2016. They're also, believe it or not, we get files in every month. Social Security, we read the newspaper every Wednesday for the obituaries and collect all the data. I was removing, not to be crass, but Wednesday's Dead People Day. And when we get them in, I was removing people off the voter roll this Sunday before the election because we had gotten obituaries from them. So
that doesn't always.
And not everybody's going to vote multiple times, but there's some people that will, I'm sure.
And like everything, somebody's going to test the system and see where there's a weakness. So,
well, I can attest that happens. My dad, he went to vote down in Florida. He's 92 years old. They said he was dead. He said, well, I'm not dead. I'm standing right here. He had a hard time proving that he was alive and he was who he said he was. Somebody had sent in something that he was dead. So make sure you check that obituary column and make sure it matches up to a Social Security number or something.
They have been.
They allowed them to vote, but I think they held it.
Bring that out. Most people do not know that if you've lived in multiple states, you can vote in every state, probably.
And that's something, like I said,
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying you shouldn't do that.
Right. Because I can tell people we'll do our best to catch you and turn it in. And if there's an issue, then I get to go stand in front of the judge again.
And they've been doing that for 30 years that I've been here. Jason is very efficient in that. We'll just go there. Okay. But one of the things, I guess, as he said, redistricting is coming up. This time it's not we're not under the gun as we were last time, because every 10 years, every 20 years, it comes up the year that you are also being elected. So therefore it comes in an election year. So we're really pushed, for example, it would have been last year, it would have been really pushed forward on this. So we do actually have some time in between. I have worked on, I think, 3 of these so far. This will be my 4th. Russell and I have worked on. They get easier. The last one, you allowed staff to go ahead and present it to you all. If you all want to, we'll again do that as we get the data back. We will not have the data for several months. So therefore, the issue will not be this time. But we'll need to work on that because of how we're set up. You have to have certain percentages. We have 3 majority districts. So therefore, we have to work from that based upon our settlement in a lawsuit in 1988, 89.
And because of redistricting, we'll probably have 2 primaries this year.
All right. Any other questions for Jason?
Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next, we have a resolution honoring Professor Charles S. Johnson. Mr. Jennings.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Johnson works at the research station in Blackstone. He has impacted agriculture in Southside Virginia greatly over his career, and I felt, especially in Mecklenburg County, along with other surrounding counties, but I felt like it was appropriate to give him a resolution. He's retiring this month. I'll be glad to read it if you would like for me to.
Please do.
Okay. Whereas the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors does hereby wish to honor Mr. Charles S. Johnson upon his retirement from Virginia Tech. And whereas Mr. Johnson has worked in plant pathology for 40 years, beginning at North Carolina State in 1980 and coming to Virginia Tech Southern Piedmont area station in 1985. And whereas during these 35 years of teaching and being a professor at the Southern Piedmont area and at Virginia Tech, he was involved with plant pathology and researching plant diseases, specifically those affecting tobacco, small fruit, hemp. And whereas over the past 7 years, he has been involved in improving disease resistance through grant programs totaling $1,322,641 and has authored a total of 171 articles or publications over his long career. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors does hereby wish to honor Professor Charles S. Johnson for his 40 years of service to the agricultural community and the farmers throughout the state of Virginia and our nation. Move to adopt this resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion. To adopt the resolution that Mr. Jennings just read. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, sir. All right, let's see.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thanks, sir. All right, you've got the, in your packet, the minutes of the Roanoke River Service Authority for informational purposes. A couple of appointments we need to address. Number one is, has to do with the Lake Country Business Solutions team. And as I understand it, Ms. Angie Kellett has already been serving on this team in an unofficial capacity. So I guess we need to make it official, Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I need a motion to appoint Ms. Angie Kellett to the Lake Country Business Solutions team.
Chairman, I motion to appoint Andy Keller to the position.
Okay. You've heard the motion in discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, Mr. Billy Driggs on the Industrial Development Authority has passed away. A replacement is needed to fulfill his unexpired term until August 2023. He represented the Chase City area, and according to my records, we have a letter, a resume from Mr. Glenn Wood requesting.
Mr. Chairman, myself and Mr. Brinkley contacted Mr. Wood. We think he would be an excellent replacement on that and brings a lot to the community, as you can see from his letter and everything. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Glenn Wood to the IDA.
Okay. You've heard that motion and a discussion on that motion.
I think he'll be very active and do a good job.
He's been very involved in different aspects of the county and business and whatever. So yeah, I agree. Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, you have the consent calendar in your packet. If there are no questions concerning that, we need a motion to adopt it as presented.
Chairman, my motion we adopt the consent calendar as presented.
You heard that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Any public comments, Mr. Carr?
Yes, sir, we have not received any.
No public comments. All right, let's go to board member matters. Mr. Jones, you want to start us off?
Well, I'd just like to, give a big pat on the back to Jason for all that he has done in this election. There's been so much confusion, accusations, lawyering up, and just heard that Mr. Biden was voted in today, and so that should be things should be coming to an end on that matter, I would think, but it takes people like Jason to keep us straight in our county, and I just want to give him all the thank yous that I can throw his way, and I'm glad that the school's moving along. We haven't fallen behind. Been out there several times. You can actually drive up in there. I don't know if I should tell them that, but you can drive up in there. I drove on the roads and stuff, and it's coming along great. It's going to be a fantastic facility, and I just appreciate all that Paul has been able to do on that end, and what he's been faced with this virtual and school attendance, at the facilities, and what he's been faced with and had to improvise, I guess is the word, on so many matters. And that's it.
Well, thanks, sir. Mr. Tanner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to start off by also congratulating Mr. Paul Malone, who has been chosen as the new executive director of the Roanoke River Service Authority. Mr. Hinkle was retiring, and Mr. Malone has taken over his position, so I would like to congratulate him. And also just to thank this board. It's hard to believe it's been a year already since I joined this board, and I'd like to thank everybody for their guidance and their friendship. And also just to thank the staff, Wayne and everybody that works for the county. Who'd ever thought this year would turn out like it has with COVID and all the challenges that the county and the school system has had this year. Just like to thank all of them for their hard work through the year. Also our first responders, our sheriff's department, our police departments, fire departments. We just can't say enough about them. Other than that, I'd just like to pray the next year will be much better for everyone than this year. And I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wilkins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tanner took pretty much everything I had here. As to be expected. It goes like this. Exactly.
That's why he skips around.
Yeah. But I'd just like to hit on everything he said, Mr. Nichols and the school system. I mean, that's a very difficult position to be in. And again, as I've said before, we really need to fully support everything in any way that we can, to do the best for our students and county in general. And then, good to hear from Rob Jones, about the audit. I mean, what a position to be in with the hand that we've been dealt. We all should be very thankful for that. And be thankful for the offices that we have to make that happen. And again, to Jason and his staff, I'd probably say this is one of the tougher elections in history to be able to handle that. We're very thankful for that as well. So that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, sir. Mr. Brink?
Well, I think ditto to everything everybody said here, and a whole lot left there. But, when I come to South Hill, my way has always been 47. But, I mean, watching that hill grow over there at that school, I make the 58 round. I mean, it's amazing how that's coming together and how it changes and, the asphalt, the grass, and the green. I mean, I just see this thing. It's really going to be a really beautiful thing there and all. And that's about all I got. I mean, wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I hope we all try to stay off of Jason's Wednesday list.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with everything everybody else has said, and I want to say, now you know how I feel when somebody take your words.
Exactly.
And also, 2020 has been a challenging year, but we have made it as a county, and it's at this moment and point of time, it's been very applauding. I feel as though today with this vaccine, we are in our moment of exodus, and I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to each and every one.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Lundy?
Yes, thank you. And ditto to everything that has been said, especially the schools. When I come by, I'm just so happy and pleased with what's going on. And I'd be so happy when it's completed and everybody moves in and have their certain positions there, especially the career section. I wish each of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Wear your mask and be safe, because I have several blank spaces at my table for Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think David goes around by 58, because when he came down 47, you had to drop something off at my place I had to pay for. But anyway, things I wanted to bring up, and I guess everybody's seen in the news about the governor wanting to legalize recreational marijuana. And, this is a kind of a real concern to me. I mean, the government has been pretty much trying to snuff tobacco out for 40 years, and here they want to legalize something that makes you high, and you pretty much have to smoke it. The most efficient way to use it is to smoke it or vape it to get the effects from it. I don't know exactly how we need to handle it. I've talked to Wayne about this. I've talked to Farm Bureau in Richmond quite a bit about this. I've got their policies right here that they have. It's a little bit contradictory, but I think they're working on tweaking some of what their philosophy is. But, I know farmers get excited when you can grow another crop and that kind of thing. But, if they do recreational marijuana in Virginia, it'll be grown in a $20 million warehouse, completely controlled environment, complete secure inside, completely secure outside with an 18-foot chain link fence around it. It has nothing to do with farming. All it is just growing it in that controlled environment and facility. I don't know where we need to be in the future. I just want to make everybody aware of what's going on. And, people that grow hemp, a lot of hemp grown in the county, they think that, that will help relax those standards. From what I understand, talking to DDACs, the standards for hemp will be the same as they are now. And the standards for recreational marijuana will be what they are. So it won't relax the THC levels for hemp, like you can have too much THC in the hemp and still sell it. It won't have anything to do with that. I don't know. I think it's a little premature, but we need to kind of keep our finger on the pulse as to where this goes. I know some bills. I talked to a guy at Farm Bureau the other day. Some bills will be coming out between now and Christmas on how they'll be handling this. And I will try to keep up with that and bring it back to this board in January. But I think maybe at some point in time, we need to take a stand one way or the other where this is going. From a moral point of view, I just can't see how they can do what they're doing when they have completely trashed tobacco, and yet you're going to create another product that actually makes you high and to take revenue from it, basically, is what it all boils down to. And I was telling Russell earlier tonight that in the city of San Francisco, if you rent an apartment, this is how liberal things have gone. If you rent an apartment, you can legally not smoke a cigarette in that apartment, but you can smoke marijuana in that apartment. It's just absolutely crazy. But I'll try to keep up with that. The other thing I have, I usually don't talk long, but I got a little bit of stuff tonight. So anyway, the other thing I have, I want to thank Wayne and Sandra. I've been going to the tax sales for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's absolutely incredible how they handle things and capitalize on these properties that the taxes have been paid on. It's just another thing that Wayne does, another thing Sandra does, and Ed, I know you probably a part of it too. And Russell, don't let me forget Russell. Yeah, Russell. I forget you're not a county employee, but you get county money. But anyway, So anyway, thank all of y'all for that. It's, y'all done an absolutely superb job. And, you know, I don't think Wayne's gonna be on an auctioneer's reality show, but he does a really good job. You know, the next thing I have is, Denise Height, who is the executive director at the FSA office, is retiring this month. I think it would be appropriate for us to recognize her in January with a resolution. If we can, you know, Wayne can do that and we can approve it at our January meeting. She's done a lot for agriculture in this county and for the farmers in this county and dealing with, you know, government regulations and that kind of thing. She's done an absolutely superb job. So I'd like to see us recognize her on that. You know, the last thing, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I certainly hope that the New Year is a lot better for everybody in the country and every person involved. You know, I guess sometimes you need to look at things through the eyes of a 10-year-old. Maybe we need to do that a little more often. Right, Mr. Spain?
That's right. What time we do?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Spain?
Yeah. Again, good evening to all, and it's good to be here for our last board meeting of the year. I'm happy to see the county in on a good note. Some other counties and board are fighting at each other's throat and going home mad. Mecklenburg not like that, and that is a blessing. The staff, and thank you for the work that you've done. Also especially the school board, Mr. Nichols, a lot involved. Each time I pass him. Matter of fact, yesterday, slow down, look. It's great. And we should celebrate the greatest gift to humanity. First, of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. During this time, so much is going on, but we can still take the time to be thankful. Things are well as they are. I have to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Look forward to seeing you again next year for a better year. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Well, one of these days I'm gonna start off. So I bless everything y'all just said. So, but I do, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there's a book that has just come out and it's written by a Mecklenburg County native. His name is Jimmy Reese. The name of the book is, I just forgot the name, Streak of Lean. Streak of Lean. And it's on Amazon. By all means, you need to get this book and read it. Jimmy graduated from Parkview, I think it was like 1970 was when he graduated. You've heard the term dirt poor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was Jimmy's family. Dirt poor. They were sharecroppers in Mecklenburg County. They farmed over around somewhere in the area of the Mahern River over that way, but on the Mecklenburg County side. And this book he goes through and talks about his family and his growing up years. And it's really amazing. He talks about, you know, raising tobacco and corn and how they prepared their meals. And it's unbelievable when you read and get the inside story on somebody that really lived in those conditions. His grandmother cooked on a wood stove up until she died in 1994. So, but anyway, please check that out and you know, get that and read it. And, you know, as a native of Mecklenburg County, and by the way, there's going to be probably a lot of names in there that you're going to recognize, people that you've known, you know, in the past. So, but anyway, I wanted to bring that up. Also, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know, I have thoroughly enjoyed serving with this board for another year. And, you know, I don't know that there's any better board of supervisors in the state of Virginia. You know, I think everybody just pulls their weight and very respectful of each other. And And I think that's an awesome and wonderful thing. So, okay. We do need to go into closed session to discuss economic development matters and also personnel committee matters. So at this time, I need a motion to go into closed session.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All right, we will take about a 5-minute break, and then we will come back in closed session.
Mr. Frank, if they approve that marijuana, I know you'll be preaching that.